Another episode of 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast. I'm JT, joined by the actual full crew, Frank, Jake, and Lounis. 3rd and 20 guys here, and we have a lot of news and notes to talk about. We are through the NFL Combine. The franchise tag deadline was today. Lots going on. So to kick it off, the franchise tag, like I just mentioned, was today. So we're just going to go through that. There's some not so interesting and some very interesting plays here. So not so interesting. We had the Jags tagged Evan Engram. The Raiders tagged Josh Jacobs. Those were expected. Tony Pollard.
Which, by the way, the Raiders franchise tagging Josh Jacobs is so funny considering they declined his fifth-year option at the start of the season.
Yeah, I actually think the fifth-year option was more expensive than the tag, to be honest with you. But yeah,
they had him playing in the preseason game, the Hall of Fame preseason game. People forget that.
Yeah,
they were out on Josh Jacobs at the beginning of the year. Saquon also got tagged right under the wire, and Tony Pollard, as far as running backs go with the Cowboys. And then here's the interesting one. Lamar Jackson got hit with the franchise tag, but not just any franchise tag, the non-exclusive franchise tag. And if I understand it correctly, which I mean, I might not because, me. But if I understand it correctly, any team could trade their next two first. I believe it has to be, does it have to be 2023, 2024?
I don't think, I saw Frank says, I don't think it has
Jake,
to be
muted,
your next one if you don't have one. I think
does,
it's
because it rules out a bunch of teams. That is correct.
So it does have
the Dolphins are unable to sign Lamar Jackson to an offer sheet until after the 2023 draft. That they could give them their 24 and 25 picks then. So it does have to be their next two first-round picks.
It also kind of rules out potential strategies that I was thinking about, where if you have a team with a high pick trading back and doing something like that, you can't do that. It has to be your this year, next year first. So that only really leaves the Lions are the obvious one because they're pick 18 with no Aaron Rodgers in the division, and the Bears mid-rebuild. The Vikings are the Vikings, right? It's a coin flip whether they're actually good or not. Division's wide open. The Steelers, I know people have mentioned. I would love it, but I really just doubt that's going to happen. So I think it's like 0%.
So yeah, let me just backtrack a little bit. So teams can trade their next two first to then sign Lamar Jackson to an offer sheet, but the Ravens ultimately...
That's not, no. So what happens is a team has to offer Lamar an offer sheet.
Yes.
If he accepts the offer sheet, the Ravens then have the chance to match or receive the next two first-round picks from that team.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
it's whatever Lamar decides to accept.
Correct.
And so then that would be who the Ravens are basing it off. Yeah. So if the Steelers offer Lamar $500 million guaranteed, that's what the Ravens would then have to deal with if they're going to let Lamar walk or not. So with that did spark a lot of interest, a lot of like rumors and whatnot. Oh, this team should go after him. This team should go after him. But as of earlier today, we did have a list of teams that have already said that they are not pursuing Lamar Jackson. And that includes the Falcons, Dolphins, Panthers, Commanders, and Raiders. All of those teams are apparently out on Lamar Jackson.
Makes no sense.
The Falcons, I think, I have no clue why the Falcons would not be in on Lamar.
It makes zero sense.
I don't know why.
I'm not going to go like too depth into it, but I do think there's like JT, he mentioned it in our 3rd and 20 group chat earlier. I feel like there's like, I don't know what it is, but like some kind of collusion, because it doesn't make sense why all these teams are out on him.
So what I've been reading in the, Twitter, Reddit
world
dive of the internet is that the Players Association, so the NFLPA, has a very big concern that the owners have banded together, thus collusion, to basically avoid another player getting a Deshaun Watson style fully guaranteed contract. And I think that's part of the issue here with the Lamar deal, because Lamar wants that, high number guaranteed, just like Deshaun Watson got. And he, if you're basing it on the market, he deserves that. but the NFLPA is saying all the owners have said this is that was a stupid idea, and we're not going to ever do that again.
Now, is that collusion, or is that everyone collectively coming together and saying, oh, that was not a good move in retrospect, and why are we going to repeat that?
If they all decided that on their own, maybe, but if they're coming together, think of it. And then plus things like what do you think Joe Burrow's going to ask for after seeing that Lamar deal?
But you also have to give up the 2 firsts, though, which okay, if you're re-signing a guy, yeah, but you have to give. It's not just now. It's 2 firsts and the contract. It's not. We drafted Joe Burrow.
What was the Browns
That's
trade?
well worth it.
Yeah, but the thing is that if you look back, like my argument is that I listen. I don't know whether it's collusion or not, but I don't think it's crazy that a bunch of teams are just automatically knocked out. Like the Falcons have to give up a top 10 pick and their next year's first,
and it'll be worth it.
And give him arguably he's gonna have like the most guaranteed money ever with that kind of leverage.
But
it'll be topped in a couple months by Burrow and Herbert.
They're not getting a quarterback better than Lamar from this draft at pick 8.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like even if you have a top 10,
Trey Lance went for 3 firsts.
Yeah, but then you got 5 years of Trey Lance on a rookie contract. It's a little different.
Right. No, you don't. You have 3.
He's an MVP.
I mean, obviously he got hurt last year, but they were planning on only 4 years of Trey Lance from the first place because they clearly never planned on starting Trey Lance in his rookie year.
What do you mean? If a first round pick will get a 5th-year option, so yes, you do get 5 years of.
But
guaranteed
he sat his
Trey
first
Lance.
year. They always planned to sit him his first year.
Well, that was their call, not.
So they got 4 years of Trey Lance.
Yeah, that's.
Now it's turned to 3.
I think it's crazy that all these teams are like a team. If you're like the Commanders, if you're like the Panthers or the Falcons, like it makes 0 sense not to take that and run and just.
Now the Commanders might be in a weird spot because Dan Schneider, if he's being forced to sell the team, is not going to want to shell out his pocketbook for a player that he's not even going to have in a year, most likely, right? Like,
it doesn't matter. Who cares?
It'll raise the team's value before he sells.
I think that's complete horseshit. Like, he's not shelling out hundreds of millions of dollars for a guy on a team he's going to be forced to sell. That's just not.
Backload the contract. Who cares?
That's not how the guaranteed money works. The guaranteed money is all up front.
True. But if you're guaranteeing the whole thing anyway,
I do think I don't know how everything works in depth, but I'd imagine you'd be able to sell for more if your team has Lamar Jackson. But I mean, again, I'm not.
I think these teams are going to sell for a lot. Regardless.
It's a lot of jersey sales.
As far as dynasty though, are we concerned about like Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman and whoever else is there, or is it like
a little bit?
It seems like the most likely scenario is Lamar Jackson stays on the Ravens, right?
It is
100%.
It is, yeah. But I don't know what's like. Maybe Lamar
what percent would you guys say on it? 90%?
Right, yeah, right now like 90%.
That he returns to the Ravens.
Yeah, whether or not he gets an offer sheet and the Ravens accept, or he just.
I won't put it as high as 90. I'd put it at like 75, maybe.
It's like I think it might be higher than 90, to be honest with you, just because I think the Ravens did this on purpose, and they said, "Okay, Lamar, go find a contract better than what we're offering you. Go ahead, do it." And he's not going to find one, and then he's going to say, "Okay, I'll take your deal." That's what's going to happen. Or even if he does, they'll go, "Okay, you found one better. We'll match it. Goodbye. See ya."
If I'm Lamar, I'm just the thing is they could just send him into tag hell, right? Because I don't know what the tag scenario is next year, but
they can tag him for one more year after.
The tag this year is
32
and a half or something like that because they did the non-exclusive tag. If they tag him again next year on the same thing, it's automatically, I think it's like 28 or 25% higher or something like that. So they're going to end up paying him close to $50 million then anyway. So and then if they tag him for the third year, it's a 44% increase on the prior year. So then they're paying him like almost.
Yeah, that's an absurd amount for 1 year.
Yeah, so
They
were
have
paying
until
him like $80 million if they tagged him 2 years in a row or 3 years in a row. It's just never going to happen. So like realistically, what's going to happen is he's going to sign an offer sheet, or the Ravens are just going to give him an extension this offseason. That's it. That's all this is. I think the Ravens really challenged them and said, "This is our best offer. If you think you could top it, go ahead. Try to
Do you
negotiate."
think there's any chance he sits out?
No, because some team will give him a contract, one way or another.
But who's that team?
Yeah.
Like all these teams that I thought
I think
would
it's
be
the
interested
Lions.
in.
I think right now it's between the Lions and the Ravens.
Lions. Maybe.
I think the Lions is the
did
only
the Colts say
team.
they're out?
Yeah, but I really don't think the Colts give up a top 5 pick and their next year's first and sign him to one of the craziest contracts we've ever seen.
I don't know. With Chris Ballard, with his job on the line, like he's got to do something. They haven't been able to figure out that quarterback position since
Lamar Jackson.
I think I'd rather just trade up and get my quarterback in the draft. This is a good quarterback draft. I don't.
But they're not Lamar Jackson.
It is, but it's Lamar Jackson.
CJ
Stroud Lamar coming out wasn't Lamar Jackson either.
All right, we got to move on because this is in Dynasty.
Those players aren't winning you Super Bowls. Those players are just not winning you Super Bowls. Anthony Richardson will not win a Super Bowl. Will
I'm not
Levis
saying
will not
Anthony
win a
Richardson
Super Bowl.
will, but I don't know.
They will not contribute to your team winning.
CJ Stroud looked pretty freaking good at the combine.
CJ Stroud's fine, but you would have to give up those first anyway to get up to CJ Stroud. I'd assume.
And you
CJ Stroud's top 3.
Hundreds of millions of dollars?
Yes.
That's a big deal. We gotta move on. We gotta move on. We gotta move on with this.
All right. Next, there's a lot going on here. Bless you. Whoever just needs. Next we have QBs getting long-term deals. So this one we kind of talked about already, but Derek Carr was signing with the Saints. When we talked about last, we were talking about he was meeting with the Saints, Panthers, and Jets, but now he's officially signed with the Saints. We also have Daniel Jones signing with the Giants and Geno Smith signing with the Seahawks. So kind of just the middle of the pack quarterbacks are getting their deals. And they all were like long-term deals. I think Geno Smith was 3 years. Daniel Jones was 4 years. Derek Carr, I think, was 3. But they all have outs prior to that. Derek Carr's 4. Geno Smith, I think, is actually like a 1-year deal. Daniel Jones is a 2-year deal. Derek Carr also 2, I think. 2. Derek Carr is the one I'm least familiar with. Yeah,
I believe Derek Carr is also the first 2 years guaranteed and then an out with minimal dead cap.
Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of just more prove it deals, but at the price of $35 to $40 million, which was like top setting market quarterback prices
with that Mahomes contract.
Yeah, well, I think at the time everyone knew that they were getting a steal there too, because it's just you lock them up in a long-term contract for what's turning out to be a pretty. I mean, it's still near the top of the market,
it's be like, if not already, the best contract in the NFL.
That's just the thing, though. It happens. I think, in most leagues where the salary cap and everything keeps going up, TV deals keep going up. Especially they've added an extra game, where it's just quarterbacks are just fighting the history and trying to set their new precedent. So now you're going to have the Justin Herberts and Joe Burrows of the world going for that. You're going to have, who knows, from these
coming up.
Yeah. So it is what it is. I think it's just kind of the facts of life with these deals. But $40 million for some of these guys.
Yeah, I'm selling all of these guys in Dynasty. I'm just going down the list. If I have Derek Carr, if I have Daniel Jones, if I have Geno Smith, if I have Aaron Rodgers, and Jimmy Garoppolo, if any of these dudes sign, and for whatever reason, because a lot of the time it's just, oh, look, he switched teams. It could be amazing. Like, to me, the Derek Carr scenario, I don't really think this is that great of an impact for any of the guys on the Saints offense. Maybe they're marginally better, but to the point where, you're now all of a sudden going to rank Olave from like receiver 9 or receiver 10 to receiver 5. Like, this was the deciding factor. Derek Carr.
No, I do think
the Saints were dead average in passing offense last year.
Yeah, so, no, I do think it's a small bump for Olave, but nothing where it's like, if I wasn't trying to buy him before, like now I'm buying him, like it's.
I think there's like zero tangible real bump.
I think it's a small one.
I think the
He's better than Andy Dalton.
difference
He's better
factor
than Andy
for
Dalton.
Olave is going to be Olave, not them going from they're the 16th in passing yards per game to now all of a sudden going to like the 12th, and now Olave with that small increase is now that much better. Like, nah.
There's also most likely Michael Thomas coming back, who's going to eat into his target share as well.
I'm not even thinking about
So I just think with all of these teams, the only one I might actually question is Daniel Jones, because I think there might be leagues where you would struggle to get that first round pick return that you kind of need to get for Daniel Jones. Like not a first round pick that's like, okay, I'm at the super end of the draft, right? I'm a 112. Because I think Daniel Jones realistically is worth in this draft 110, if not higher, or at least a random first round pick in a future draft. I would definitely heavily consider selling for those prices, but I can understand holding it. The other dudes, Geno, Carr, Rodgers, fucking anyone, you're gone. See ya. Mass offer.
Would you want a first for Rodgers?
No. I think the first. I don't think you can get Rodgers in a second and for a first done. I'd probably try it because why not? But the fact of the matter is that you could probably still get a mid-second from a team that needs a quarterback. He signs with the Jets. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, Rodgers, he's potentially going to... Maybe you have to give a smidge back as well, because, I mean, we're going to do a mock in a second. These top 18 players right now, I think are pretty fantastic. I think I would take all of them over Rodgers straight up.
I think Rodgers in a second can get you a first, especially when you consider who's probably buying Rodgers is probably someone in like the
I doubt it.
to 112.
There's rumors right now Rodgers could just hang it up any day of the week.
I think because
okay, let's just say you wait until he signs.
You want to get into that?
Or
so Aaron Rodgers has met with the Jets today, allegedly.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't think it's impossible. I on average, it does not get done.
Aaron Rodgers in a second for a first, you don't think gets done?
On average, in most leagues,
you get done.
Unless you're talking
especially
about
right
112 and you're moving back,
No, but even like a 109 or something.
Yeah, but if I'm giving up 109, I'm gonna want 202 back with Rodgers. Like I'm gonna want a high second back. Like if that's the deal,
I think you could do something like a 206 or 207 and Rodgers for 109. I don't think that's crazy.
Realistically,
once he announces that he's like coming back to either the Packers or Jets. I don't know if he can right now, but like say he gets traded to the Jets. I think at that point, like you can.
I think realistically, most of these deals, I might just wait until we get to that point after the rookie drafts where we start getting into training camp. We get in this mode where everyone's looking at their teams thinking they have a contender. All the rebuilding teams just stocked up with all their rookie picks that they all picked up. And you're probably going to get a couple teams that thinking they're turning the corner. All the teams that the veterans still think they're going to contend. At that point, when you have a guy that's going to try and win the championship before the season starts, then maybe you'll probably have your best shot at getting a good return for Rodgers. So for Rodgers right now, I would be holding until that point. Right now, you're probably just not going to get the return that's worth.
The only thing that could bite you in the butt with that one is if he retires. If he says, I'm just done.
Right. The vibe really doesn't feel like he's retiring, though. I think
I don't know, dude. Dude went on a darkness retreat doing ayahuasca for 4 days. Like, I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, and in his darkness retreat, he's like, what else is darkness? The New York Jets. Yes. Like,
I'm gonna save the city of New York.
Any other takes on this? Do we want to dive into any of these quarterbacks specifically?
The only thing I do have
one question real quick. If he does go to the Jets, so again, we don't know for sure if he's going to return or go to the Jets, whatever. But let's talk about real quick or just touch on the two quarterbacks who it's going to affect, Jordan Love and Zach Wilson. One, if you have Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson's been dead.
Are you trying to sell now before that kind of signing happens? Or like you might as well wait it out? Or two, are you trying to buy Jordan Love at a discount, or are you holding, or like how do you view both of these QBs in this? Because I feel like those are the two it's really impacting.
Jordan Love is pretty expensive right now.
That's the issue.
We talked about him last week.
So like that's the issue I have with Jordan Love is like I would actually take a flyer on him, but I think the price is way too high. I think it's going to be one of these top 18 picks in this draft, and we're going to go do a mock, and I just think I'd rather have one of those guys before I take a chance on Jordan Love here. But if we're talking a back end second, if we're talking 210, maybe I'll just say sure. Like if I'm a QB needy team, but like that deal's not going to get done. No. So like I think he's in a spot that it's just very hard to trade for Jordan Love right now.
I will say that some of these quarterbacks, like Zach Wilson, some of the other like meddling guys, I imagine Minshew's probably there right now. The Davis Mills, you can pick these guys up, not in every league, but there are leagues you can pick these guys up for fab prices.
Some of them, yeah.
So just something worth noting, simply because we've seen with these quarterbacks, once you're playing, sometimes you can be sold. And some of these dudes, at least when they've played before, have been able to score. You know, it's not like freaking Ben DiNucci where you're like, okay, hopefully he gets 10 points. You know, most of these guys, their career average is at least average points. So something to just note on that point with Lounis.
So the one thing I want to touch on before I move on, and it's definitely not biased at all, is Daniel Jones. Obviously had a great improvement year one with Dayball. Brings back on a big contract. Saquon's back on franchise tag. You get Wan'Dale back off injury. You assume they use pick 25 to take a JSN or an Addison or a Quentin Johnson. Yeah. Is there any way in your guys' mind that he just is worth that contract right now? Like, and I'm talking dynasty value, is he worth the investment at a 112 price or something along those lines, a 110 price?
I'm not going to say it can't happen. I'm not going to say it can't happen, but I'm not going to be the person to do it.
Because he was playing on a team that, really had a middle of the road offensive line and no weapons outside of Saquon Barkley in the backfield. Like, they had no receiving weapons. Their best receivers were, I love Isaiah Hodgins, and I think he's going to have a role in this team. I've said that multiple times, but he was their best receiver. They picked him up off Buffalo's practice squad midway through the year.
Yeah.
Like, he was working with nothing. Now you get Wan'Dale back. You still have Isaiah Hodgins. You hopefully add a guy in the draft. A second year in Dayball system what's the progression here? Or do you think this year was just an anomaly?
So I at least will give Daniel Jones credit. The price might be a little bit too high for me because I don't think that Daniel Jones is going to become an elite quarterback, which is partly priced in. But the fact of the matter is, when you compare his price currently to the likes of Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones has just as much upside as any of those dudes. Is younger.
He's also a lot younger, yeah.
And yeah, if you're right, if they do add a Jordan Addison or whoever receiver you want to plop in there, or even tight end at 25, and you're right, the offense becomes more attractive. I don't even think it helps Daniel Jones's points per game. I just think it makes him more sellable, because then all of a sudden the narrative happens and he might start jumping into fringe top 12 quarterback prices, which just instant stonks. So that's why I was kind of saying before, I'm just going to sell. If I can get a first that I think becomes a top 10 pick or is currently a top 10 pick, probably just I will go and downgrade to a lower tier starting quarterback or use those assets to trade for a chunk.
I'm selling Daniel Jones for any 2024 first. That's my target price on Daniel Jones. And I think you could get that done.
I agree with you.
Aaron Rodgers, what's the likelihood we see him on a team that's not the Packers? 95%.
Yeah, they're done with Aaron Rodgers.
I don't think I'm going to go as high as 95, but I'd go like 80.
Yeah, you two, Frank and Jake, are very confident. I'm, I guess, kind of in your boat, but 95 is like basically short.
Yeah, 95. I'd go like somewhere between 70 to 80.
Aaron Rodgers will either be on another team or retired. He is not going back.
I don't think he's going to retire.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think he's retiring. I still see a world where he's on the Packers.
If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I just wouldn't want to go back. Fuck the Packers at this point. Like, I feel like the only reason he wants to stay at the Packers is because, you know, it's just been where he's been his whole career, right? Like, the fans love him and all that stuff. But realistically, they have just fucked him over time and time and time again. And now they're trying to act like, oh, well, last season was your fault. Like, okay, you fired the coach that he liked. You never drafted the receivers in the first round that you said. You trade Devontae Adams.
Wait, you don't think he wanted McCarthy gone?
No, he's talking about Hackett, right?
I mean, I don't think he wanted McCarthy gone. No. Did he?
No, I think.
Listen, I could be wrong in that. I don't remember, but from what I was hearing, he did not like LaFleur, right? Like, I think if you gave him the choice right now, he would much rather be playing for McCarthy than LaFleur.
I don't know if I can agree, but
he literally said in the offseason that McCarthy's offense was the perfect offense and that he doesn't like what they run right now.
Their offense under LaFleur.
What's up?
Their offense has been better. They just lost.
Listen. That's what he said, not me. Like,
I think he just misses Devontae and Jordy Nelson.
But yeah, the Jets it lines up perfectly. He gets to go back with Hackett. He gets to go into.
He's a way better.
It just all makes sense.
Way better skill players on the Jets.
Well, yeah, when you go and play with Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, yeah, it's much better.
Yeah, and a better defense.
Yeah, good defense actually.
All right, so with that, I think we'll move on then to the mock draft, and it's our first post-combine mock draft. So I think what we'll do is we'll incorporate any tidbits of information you want to include from the combine into the players that you're drafting, for example. And then afterwards, I think we'll just talk about who we didn't touch on from the combine. Okay. That would probably mean the fallers from the combine, because if they didn't get drafted in the first 2 rounds, I'm going to assume they were fallers from the last mock that we did.
I was honestly just thinking, like, we can just go through the mock, like, obviously mention stuff like you said, but just
I think the elephant in the room is I think a lot of players are going to move from the last time, and I think the big change is going to be the combine and the hype that's happening from these players for the combine. So I think it's just easier to
I see you guys played it safe
the way there.
First pick.
All right, let's start it off then. Let's just
It was a random order generator.
No, I'm saying if you gave me like the 3rd or something, you're putting me in a dangerous position there.
We did the random order generator, and it came up the same thing that we did the first 2 times. We're like, all right, let's just switch it up though, because we need some kind of change.
Yeah, the first pick for me isn't changing.
Good job, Bijan. You didn't fuck it up. Good job.
He's just gonna immediately step in as arguably the dynasty running back 1. I expect him to be production wise like a top 5 running back right away. He's that talented. I think it's the best running back prospect since Saquon to come out. I have little to no doubt in my mind. Like it's just because you could argue, do you want to go QB? There's risks with everyone. Like Bryce Young, you may be worried about he's too small. CJ Stroud has some questions. If you want to be bold and go like Anthony Richardson QB1, like he's still super raw and a big question mark, as talented as he is. I just feel like Bijan, you're getting a guaranteed high-end asset.
9.81 relative athletic score from the combine.
Wait, do we want to get people from chat in on the mock? Skull wants to get in on the mock. I mean, listen,
I'm cool with people in chat getting in on the mock.
Oh, I haven't had the chat over.
We could just start replacing. If you want to be in the mock, just say something in the chat so that I can denote, because we can just start replacing these duplicate picks. But I'm going to take Bryce Young, probably a 101 in classes without guys like Bijan.
Yeah,
pretty simple stuff.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, the question I was going to ask was, if you had 101, would you have gone Bijan or Bryce Young?
It's always Bijan.
Yeah, I think you have to go Bijan just because it's.
Yeah, you have to. He's too good.
He's just the best player at his position, exactly. And
all right, so we got P to the R and Skull. So P to the R, whatever, and Skull.
Do any of you guys care about the combine measurements of Bryce Young, positive or negative?
It's kind of what I thought it would be.
It's going to be Skull.
My opinion on him hasn't really changed. Like, size was a concern going in, and he kind of had the measurements.
I think he was probably just eating 5,000 calories every day before the combine just to get up.
I guess his weight was a little bit better because it showed like he's like the same weight as like Kyler, but I feel like Kyler is a little bit more built than him.
Yeah, no, that's why I think he was literally just eating a bunch of food prior to getting.
And then even Kyler deals with injuries, and I think Kyler's stronger and more built than him. So
I'm not that concerned about Bryce Young.
Kyler also runs more.
So one thing about the injuries that I do want to mention is that Bryce Young, to me, his pocket presence and his pocket movement is really good, which I don't really know if that's bullshit or not to account for like, oh, well, I think his pocket movement is better, therefore he won't get hurt as much. Like, but I honestly think that's a factor that plays into it. Like, especially when you compare him to Kyler Murray. Like, let's be real, Kyler Murray is really not great at escaping the pocket. He's just like fast as shit and a little dwarf that he's able to. Like,
I'm fast as fuck, boy. I'm fast as fuck,
like,
boy.
Because like I feel like half the time Kyler Murray like always chooses the wrong direction, but he's just such a playmaker. He's like, oh shit, spit zone, I'm out of there. Like
he's just so fast and quick. Yeah.
All right, I'm up.
Yeah, I think Joe is right. Like it matters, but it's not. You called it a death bell. I just don't even think it's enough of a factor. It's like it's annoying, but it's just not enough.
Boys, I'm up here, and I'm gonna shock the world.
Oh God, what are you doing?
Here comes
Anthony Richardson.
Oh, there we go.
Not because I like Anthony Richardson, but I'm just going to turn around and I'm going to trade Anthony Richardson off this hype, and I'm just going to stonk because we have seen from the NFL draft or NFL combine, everyone talking. It sounds like he's going to be a top 3 pick now. He had a relative athletic score of a 10. He's like one of the most athletic players that we've seen. I still think he's not a good quarterback, but I don't care. Simply based off the value, and you're making me pick a player at the 103. I think I could flip Anthony Richardson for Kyler Murray. I think that's a deal you could do.
Why wouldn't you take a better quarterback? CJ Stroud had a great
Anthony Richardson's going to get more hype. We've seen what Trey Lance did. We saw what happened with Trey Lance. Anthony Richardson's going to get more hype than Trey Lance. I see it coming. I see it coming down the pipeline, and I'm just going to ride the wave, and I'm going to whatever it's called when it crests. I'm just going to hop off that wave. He's going to sell Anthony Richardson.
He's going to be a top 12 NFL draft pick.
I'm going to tell you now, the guy that's really a threat to the number 1 overall pick is CJ Stroud. Okay, the guy had a fantastic combine. That's who I'm taking at 104. Yeah. I just think he checks every box. He literally checks every single box.
Jake, you don't understand. I don't care about who's good or not. I just care about who I'm getting the most value for, and I know it's going to be Anthony Richardson. I just know.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm taking the bait. I'm starting to fall in love with all these guys. I watched a shit ton of Anthony Richardson this weekend, and everything I said on the past podcast, I think I was wrong about.
Yes.
Oh no, I stand very
same thing with Stroud a little bit. Like I'm watching more Stroud. I'm liking him more and more than I see. Like I'm starting to become. The only one who I watch more and more of, and I can't like more, is freaking Will Levis. Like
oh yeah. No. Look, if Will Levis had a great combine, I still don't think I would. But we're talking like, oh, Anthony Richardson could be the next Jalen Hurts. Oh, Anthony Richardson this. Oh, Anthony Richardson that. Great. I'll take him, and then I'll just flip him.
That'd be kind of a hot take. I might have Stroud ahead of Bryce Young.
I might as well. After the combine, I might. I thought he looked fantastic.
For me, it's not the combine. It's
but Bryce Young didn't.
I was rewatching his performance against Georgia the other day, and man,
I still have Bryce Young 1, but I think the threat to that number 1 QB spot is CJ Stroud.
I think Anthony Richardson's a bigger threat. I have all 3 of them kind of in the same tier, and Will Levis in a second tier, but Stroud is really fucking good.
I wonder who Skull's taking here at 6. I think every single pod, the one of the first 3 things he said in the chat is something about JSN. He doesn't take him here at 6.
I'm not gonna That's the right pick. That's the right pick. I would have gone Jahmyr Gibbs there with who was off the board.
If I don't have a top pick in the draft, I would be trading for picks 6, 7, and 8 because I think that's where you're going to get like the really good.
You're going to get
players.
Gibbs, JSN. Is Jay who? Well, I mean, we'll find out this draft. But is
Yeah.
JSN's anyone else's wide receiver one still?
Yeah.
He's mine.
Oh yeah.
He's
jumped
my
up.
2, but he's very close to Quinn Johnston. I think they've separated themselves from Addison.
I have Addison ahead of Quinn Johnson.
Yeah,
Quinn Johnson's my number 3.
It was weird that JSN was ended up being one of the biggest combine winners. That was definitely
The combine. I mean, no, like I know his Cone thing was the combine didn't change anything for me. I mean, I've said it before. Like Jason's always been my wide receiver one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's been my
team-
wide receiver one, but this here's where it changed for me, and this goes back to the Jamar Chase paradox that we talked about, where JSN was my wide receiver one before. He's still my wide receiver one, but I now have him higher as a rookie grade and where I would take him and value him in general.
Okay, that's
right.
fair.
Like
That's fair.
because
I mean,
dude,
yeah, for me,
it might just be a cone merchant with the 3 cone and the shuttle. But listen, he smoked everyone. He smoked everyone.
Sometimes you can't overthink. He's been my wide receiver one for a year plus. What?
Okay.
He moved up my board. He moved up my board.
He moved up my board as well, but not
What?
I think for a lot of the community, Zach Charbonnet with the combine he had, I wish he weighed in a little bit heavier, but because I don't know, when you watch
like
his UCLA games, he looks like he's running around at 230. Like
I like him, but I don't know about there. The last thing I'll say with the JSN thing I wanted to say, he's been my receiver one for receiver plus. Sometimes it's like he was on a team with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, and he was the best receiver on the team. Sometimes you can't overthink it too much.
Yeah.
Okay.
more on Charbonnet than everyone.
Yeah, I see that.
Wait. I have a question to Skull. Would you have taken him over any of the people that just went ahead of him?
Oh, I hope not.
I'm interested now. He says he's higher on him than anyone.
Yeah, but I mean, he's also...
what is it? The six ahead of him? Yeah. Would you have taken him above any of the 6 ahead of him?
Well, no, he took JSN, so no. But
yeah, but we don't know if JSN was also ahead of Gibbs.
I think honestly, I don't think it's that.
There's an
crazy to
argument.
take.
Yeah,
I don't know. No, Gibbs is in a different tier for me.
I still really like Gibbs, but there is an argument that he's even smaller than DeAndre Swift. Is he going to get a 3-down role?
His height and weight were fine. It's not a concern.
It's not a concern for me. I can understand why it's a concern for people. All the people he was comped to are a good 6 to 10 pounds heavier than him. From Kamara to Aaron Jones to ETN to this guy to that guy, they're all heavier than him, all bigger than him.
Will Levis going at 108 to P to the R?
There's a ton. Didn't CMC come in at 206? I don't know.
Charbonnet was second round rookie draft capital. He deserves to be in the top 7 rookie picks.
I'd be I'd be surprised if he went in the second round, and even if he does, I can't take him above any of those guys I had. I'm definitely not over Jahmyr Gibbs. And then there's still some receivers I think I would have taken. Listen, I'm not hating on it because if you're right, you're gonna look like a genius. And I mean, I have bullet takes too, so not gonna hate on it. But damn.
All right, Jake, you're in a spot here.
Wait, so Will Levis went at 108? Yeah. Someone said something about Will Levis in the combine. Who was that Jake?
I was just saying.
No,
I was saying if Will Levis had a sick combine, I'm still not moving him up my boards. It's different than Anthony Richardson, but he didn't have a sick combine. He was fine.
He looked fine. Yeah. I still think he gets the top 10 draft capital, so I do think this is a fine pick for Will Levis. But he's definitely my quarterback 4 now, which is, not saying a whole lot.
Okay. Gibbs over Charbonnet and full point PPR, Charbonnet if less than that. I actually like that. I think we should do that on the pod more. Start making bigger distinctions between the things. But I guess
but for me it doesn't make it. I'm taking Gibbs in both scenarios. Gibbs is I'm really high on Jahmyr Gibbs.
This puts me in a very precarious spot. I get to choose my wide receiver here.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he didn't have a good combine, but I'm still gonna take Jordan Addison.
Thank God. It would have been so hard for me to pick if you left me Addison there.
That's kind of hoping.
Yeah, I mean, right now my wide receiver rankings are all over the place just because JSN did hop up to my wide receiver 1 and following the combine. He put out all my doubts. So right now, this pick for me was between Jordan Addison and my boy Zay Flowers. I still have Jordan Addison smidging ahead of him right now.
Okay, well then there was no concern of mine because
I know you're a Quentin Johnson merchant over here. So.
Yeah, he's my fifth player right now on my big board. So getting him at 9 feels pretty nice. Or 10, not even 9. I'm trying to pull up his relative athletic score, but I don't think he ran the 40, so I don't think he has an official score.
Yeah,
but other than his 40 time, which he didn't run, I mean, he kind of tested exactly what you expected him to. I would say I don't think there's much surprise with Quinn Johnston, so I'm not backing off from him.
I don't really know who to take here because this is in this tier of players where I have
that's a weird spot.
Pre-draft, I have essentially like 8 players here that I'm considering that are all roughly valued the same.
This is the area I'd be avoiding. This is the area I'd be trading back because I think you're going to get a similar player at 202 that you would at 111.
Yeah, but it's hard to make those moves. It's hard to go 3 spots down, especially because all the players here, like Frank said, are in this tier where they're all the same. So you're just like fine with any of them.
Yeah.
It's like, I think in terms of lowest risk, just taking any one of the top 4 tight ends you like the most or Hyatt/Downs is what I'm feeling.
The disrespect to Zay Flowers.
I don't really.
Zay Flowers is someone I'm considering at the next.
I don't know. I think I'm just lower than consensus on Zay Flowers. I think I'd rather have Downs and Hyatt over Flowers.
Ooh.
And I
understand Hyatt. Downs, I don't know.
And I don't hate Flowers that much. It's just you put a gun to my head. And listen, they're all the same tier, but you may force me to pick. He's probably
who's your guys' tight end 1? Have any of you bumped Darnell Washington up?
No, I'm going to go for the brand.
But he was always there.
Darnell Washington was always your tight end 1?
Yeah.
I think he's my tight end 1 as well. What?
Oh wow. Yep, I know Frank loves
I'm staying on brand. You know, every other year I've got to have my overhyped Texas A&M player, and this year it's going to be Devin Achane. No, I actually thought that Devin Achane low-key had a better combine than I think others are giving him credit for. I wish he had a little bit higher of a vertical, but weighing in 188, so to me essentially 190, that's fine, good 40. But that BMI at 28, I think is something that I was very happy about because I was really scared that he was going to come in like 180, and then it's like, okay, well now I think the weight is something that you literally can't overcome. But I think he's at least in a spot where the weight isn't a huge issue for me.
His height and weight still are pretty small for me.
I'm gonna go back-to-back receivers here. Starting with Jalen Hyatt.
Okay.
And then taking me and Jake's boy, Zay Flowers.
He's such a steal at the beginning of the second round. It's
bro. I was like hoping that he would fall to 112.
Kincaid is Joe's tight end 1. P to the R saying, I think Levis will be overdrafted and have inflated value. Yeah, that was my reasoning behind Anthony Richardson too, and why I took him where I did.
Except Richardson's actually good.
Yeah, let's calm down there.
Are you talking about Chase Brown there, Joe? Honestly, if I go into the tight ends, if I had to pick a tight end, it's either probably Washington or Mayer for me. But if the NFL drafts any one of these guys tiers ahead of the other, then I'll probably just follow suit. So
you are on the board here, Frank.
Yeah, I probably would have gone tight end with my last pick if I had one that I really liked over one of the others. But oh man, I'm just gonna keep passing on them because I really don't know.
You going Josh Downs?
I want to pick Josh Downs. I want to pick one of the tight ends. Fuck it, I'll take Dalton Kincaid. Fuck it, why not?
Oh, thank God. I've been getting so lucky with people picking.
Dude, there's literally, I think Musgrave, Downs, Kincaid, Washington, Mayer, doesn't fucking matter. They're all good.
No, it does matter. It does matter because Darnell Washington is significantly better than all of them, and that's who I'm picking here.
I don't know significantly, but he's my tight end one as
Significantly.
well. I would have taken Darnell Washington.
Yeah, but you got to watch out. They might just make him a block merchant.
They're not. Well, okay, that is the issue. I need a competent team to trade for or to draft Darnell Washington. I need a competent team to do it. One that will actually use him to their, to his best capability and what helps them win. And that's having him as a pass catcher, because who's tackling someone that crazy athlete? I don't know how you're getting him out in space. His ADOT was like 11. It was like 11 yards, and he had crazy yards after catch despite having such a high ADOT. Not to mention he's just a super beast, 9.85 relative athletic score. He's 6'6", almost 6'7", 264, and he still ran a 4.64 40. That's just insane. That's insane. I think he's a top 15 pick in the NFL draft.
In the NFL draft?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there's a good chance we see 3 to 4 tight ends in the first round, which is crazy.
I think he's obviously going first round. I just don't know.
I would love if the Patriots drafted him at what's the Patriots draft pick this year? It's right around there.
They're gonna draft Anthony Richardson. Or actually, no, they're too late. They'd have to trade up for him.
Yeah, at this point, they're not getting Anthony Richardson, which I'm so fine with. Patriots pick 14. I would love if the Patriots picked him at 14.
I can see them going for like Jordan Addison for some reason, or Quentin Johnson. Honestly, any of those top 3 receivers. You don't like Addison?
Well, I just feel like picking Addison at 14 and letting Jacoby Myers walk
a little bit of reach.
Really feel like a lateral move in terms.
JSN's your number 2, right?
Yes, JSN's my number 2.
All right, Jake, you're up.
Honestly, you taking the tight ends made this easier, because I really thought one of you was going to take this guy. It's Josh Downs. I just at 204 here, I think he had a solid combine. He came in a little lighter than I would have liked. He's only weighed in at 170. I would have liked to see him up at like 185, but he ran a good 40. He had a 4.48. Good vertical, good broad jump. It seems explosive, which is exactly what we saw on tape. So Josh Downs here at 204 seems like a solid pick to me.
Yeah.
I've cooled on Josh Downs a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
At 204, though, I'm good with that.
Right. The upside at 204 is worth it. I mean, earlier in the offseason, I think he was a guy that was more looking at the, back end of the first, early, like 201 kind of range, and he's fallen a little bit.
In your guys' mock draft, you did January 17th, he went 201.
Yeah, so he's fallen a little bit. I think that's pretty fair, considering his combine and just everyone watching his tape and seeing what he's about. But again, high upside player at 204.
Honestly, I think it's more so due to the tight ends. I think that with all the hype the tight ends have gotten, I'd pick them all in these tight end premium leagues over, or at least at the same realistic range as Downs.
And also, like, it kind of being solidified that 4 quarterbacks are going to get drafted in the first round of most rookie drafts.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's been solidified over the weekend. So, yeah.
Oh, Michael Mayer going next to P to the R.
That's a good value pick. I mean, this is why I was saying the other day, these early seconds, I'm really liking these early seconds, dude. Because Michael Mayer, Josh Downs.
He could be a first round pick.
These were players that for years have basically been like consensus first round rookie picks. And now with the hype of these other guys, they've been, at least in this, it's not going to be every league, but whether it's them or the guys they push down, I think that on average, these types of players would be hanging in the late first. Like last year, these guys would be hanging around the late first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Skull, you got 2 picks in a row.
Well, you sent them in.
Oh. Kendre Miller and Kayshon Boutte.
What's going on,
Skull? Not scared by the Boutte combine?
Yeah, he wasn't on my big board of top 24 anymore, and I was a big Kayshon.
What was his 40?
Not good.
4.6, I think. Let me pull it up. It was slow.
6?
He ran a faster second one. I remember that. But
yeah. No, I thought the first one was faster. I don't know. But,
Yikes.
Oh no, it was Addison who had a slow first one.
Yeah.
Let me see if I'm trying to pull.
What did Addison run?
Addison ran a 4.5.
That's fine.
Kayshawn
4.6.
ran a 4.5 as well, but his second one was like a 4.6 something. He had like a bad one, and it just looked horrible.
Yikes.
He also kind of did crappy on all of the other drills as well, which didn't really help him.
What's his do we know his athletic score?
Yes, I have it right here actually. It is a 4.73.
Oh god. Yikes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of it lends credence to he still hasn't gone over his ankle/foot injury.
Allegedly.
Okay,
Because-
I mean, listen, he'll have his pro day to try to try to make up for some of this.
Yeah, no, I don't know if it's like just a career kind of thing, like he's just never going to recover, or if he's still going to take time. But like the Kayshawn that you're seeing in his like freshman and sophomore year is not the same player that we've seen last year and at this combine. So I don't know. We'll see. But he's almost certainly at this point. It's going to be tough for me to believe in him getting day 2 draft capital at this point.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it might be end of the 3rd round, but that's it. I'd be surprised. Especially there are a lot of receivers who have kind of helped themselves.
Sean
I don't know. I
Tucker.
think a lot of these receivers kind of shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah. Kendre Miller was all right. Let's just go. Kendre Miller, I also thought was interesting because he tested. Yeah, Boutte injury might have ruined him. That's kind of what I feel like might have happened as well. Kendre Miller came in super small, if I remember correctly, right, guys? Like,
yeah, but he isn't he recovering from that knee injury?
Kendre Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm more so talking about didn't he do height and weight? I'm trying to pull it up if he got an official height and weight.
Yeah, I think it's just tough though because I'm pretty sure he like tore his ACL or something. So I imagine
So
he
you're gonna
hasn't been
say
able
he's
to work
not
out.
gonna have a lot of
Yeah.
I do know.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen. At the end of the day,
it's his
most of
height's
your
not
weight
gonna
is
get
in your
him.
legs. So
Oh no, he's all right.
No,
He's 5'11", 215.
Yeah, he came in fine.
Yeah, no, he's fine.
I'm just pissed because Kendre Miller, his athleticism was going to be a determining factor for where I had him ranked. Whether he was going to be in that like upper average running back kind of tier, maybe like a Tevin Coleman-y kind of guy, or actually being a good running back and a guy that I'm going to be targeting heavily in the 2nd round, or even potentially the late 1st, right? And now those questions aren't going to be answered, and an NFL team may have to answer them. And what do they think about the knee injury right now? There's just a lot more question marks, and I don't know how to value him right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I really like these late picks though now because I'm looking at the board and there's a lot of players that I would take in these. Not a lot, but there's like good players that I would have valued a lot higher. Sean Tucker being one of them, who PTLR just took.
I mean, I'm gonna go with the last tight end here. I'm gonna take Musgrave.
Yeah, I was going to look to take him. I was hoping he would just fall down the board.
Surprised you didn't take your boy Raheem.
He had a decent combine, honestly. He tested, but that's not a surprise. Athleticism has never been his problem. It's the production for Raheem
Do
Jarrett.
you think you should be still taken in the first 2? Like, if Jake, say you had like the next 3 picks, would Raheem be one of them?
Very possibly. It's probably more of a 3, like early 3rd for me
like
right now. But I mean, listen, I think draft capital, if you see him go even round 4, right? I still think it's a solid day, capital for him, and I think he could get a boost there. Obviously, you want to see him day 2, but if he doesn't, I don't think it's a killer because I think he's just a guy that didn't have the production due to this Maryland team having, we saw 4 Maryland receivers at the combine this year. They had a whole bunch of guys that spread the ball out a lot, and I just think it's just one of those things where production isn't the greatest factor in his game right now.
Okay, no, that's fair.
But in terms of Luke Musgrave, I think he's a guy that is probably arguably tight end 1. I think right now we have no idea who's going to be tight end 1.
Boys, I'm telling you, Darnell Washington.
I think
always has been.
I mean, Musgrave's 6'6", 250 himself. Like, obviously, it's not the whatever 6'10" or whatever Darnell Washington is, but
an
like
athletic freak.
I just want to see which range they all get. Are they all going to go in the late first? Is one of these guys going to go just tiers above that? That's
one or two of them is going to fall to the second. I have very little doubt about that.
Yeah, the thing that it reminds me of, though, it's like, okay, you don't want to take the bait a couple years ago when you had Hayden Hurst versus like Goddard and Gesicki behind, who ended up just being better options in
Much
fantasy.
better, yeah.
I mean, whether you want to argue now, but like in terms of what around the draft time, at least, right? And like the couple of years after, when it comes to like these guys, I think there is a realistic chance that one of these dudes could go in the top 20, right? Or more than one of them. And yeah, the range is into the second round. So that's definitely for me going to be a huge determining factor.
For sure.
JT, who are you picking here?
Well, Skull kind of is talking about where I am at. Marvin Mims is someone that I was debating taking at 2 or 3. And with a relative athletic score of 9.13 in the combine,
I was hoping Marvin Mims.
What did he run at the combine?
I was going to take him next pick. So
you're going to.
He ran a 4.38.
I feel less bad then. Fuck.
Yeah, you guys weren't getting Marvin Mims. If you thought you were getting past me with Marvin Mims, no shot.
No, you were the one I was worried about.
Yeah. Right,
I was like, if JT doesn't take him, then yeah, I might get lucky. But
Marvin Mims, wide receiver, Oklahoma. I did find it interesting that he was talking about in his combine interviews that Oklahoma didn't really, because his route tree is something that people have been questioning, and he just essentially said, "Yeah, Oklahoma didn't really ask me to run those routes." He's like, "I can."
That's what like I feel about most players. Like, unless you're a straight speedster, right? Which obviously he ran fast, but he's not considered a speedster. Like, that's it. Like, sure, that's just what college offenses do. They're more basic. That's just what happens.
One of the problems I'm having with Marvin Mims is that I really liked him when he was an underclassman, but then he kind of just never continued that upward trajectory into being like an elite prospect. So now I'm struggling where to value him, especially in relation to a player like a Josh Downs, who just kind of had a little just better production, really, right? I mean, so obviously I'm going to have Downs above Mims, but how much, right? Because I think you look at someone like JT. I mean, JT, you have Downs above Mims, correct?
Nope, but they're right next to each other. Actually,
Okay.
no, Zach Charbonnet's sandwiched in between the two.
Nonetheless, he has them basically valued the same.
Yeah.
Other people, that gap is going to be pretty big. I don't know exactly where I've fallen.
I'm surprised at one player that might not be going here, depending on who Lunis picks.
Is it Tank?
Oh yeah, I picked up Tyjae Spears. I don't know. I like the upside. I was thinking of between him, Tillman, the other receiver from Tennessee, Parker Washington.
That's who I'm surprised is not gone.
And unironically, but towards the third round, starting to think about some of the other quarterbacks in the draft.
JT, don't need to be surprised. Parker Washington was who I planned on taking with this last pick. Tank Bigsby was in consideration. It was honestly between those two, but I lent Parker Washington out of Penn State.
He's a guy that the NFL is going to be high on. He's got pretty good pedigree. He's been a guy that's been around for a while. He's from a good receiver school, which I think NFL teams really value. And they run a pretty pro style offense there. So, well, there we go. We got post combine mock.
Are we going round 3?
Oh God.
Listen, we keep going. I was going to start talking more about the combine now with the.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm not talking about the combine.
Because you mentioned Tank Bigsby. I think that just to start off the conversation.
He had a bad one.
I do want to say, by the way, in January, I'm saying is a chain. He went 109 in the January mock draft.
Well, yeah, I'm scooping him up in the late first every draft.
Yeah, Frank's just.
I'm boosting his ADP. We're boosting. But yeah,
wait. I missed he went 111. I completely missed that pick. I thought he didn't go. Okay.
No,
so Sean
Frank's just
Tucker
gonna
went.
No, I'm there.
So
yeah,
Sean,
so Tank,
Sean,
let me
Sean Tucker
fucking
won.
talk about Tank's Bigsby, Lunis.
Okay. Talk about Tank Bigsby.
I'm out on Tank Bigsby now. I needed him to be an elite athlete, and he's just not. That's my whole point. That's all I wanted to say.
Is that what you wanted to get on? I thought it was gonna be like something
have this
like
whole
provocative.
thing. I was gonna have this
Like
whole
you were like,
song
oh,
and
let
dance.
me talk. I was like, you know what? He's gonna say something like cool, and he's just like, nah, I don't like him.
Yeah, I had something. You ruined the mojo I had. You ruined it. You know, I was open for the corner three. You just decided to fucking pass it up for a layup.
I kept the ball. I just drove into a double check.
That was awesome. Wait, so Josh Downs? Oh no, Josh Downs went at 204 in this draft. Yeah. So I think from the combine, my big takeaways were quarterbacks are fine. I think obviously Anthony Richardson boosted his stock a bunch, but otherwise fine. Running backs, I think fine. Tight ends, I think boosted their stock tremendously, and then wide receivers for the most part hurt themselves. And I think the overall consensus at this point is this is a weak wide receiver class. Whereas I think if we were talking last year, this time we would say this was a strong wide receiver class.
Well, I mean, Kayshawn falling off here definitely puts a damper on this receiver class. But overall, I mean, I think you got a strong top 3 or 4, right? Depending on where you want to. I put Flowers in there, but obviously you got JSN, Addison, Quentin Johnson, Zay Flowers, Jalen Hyatt, Josh Downs. Like, you got 6 solid ones just right off the bat that I think are very good NFL players. Now, if they fully translate, that's obviously to be seen, but I don't think it's a weak receiver class by any sense of the word. I think what we've seen is it's a top-heavy running back class, if anything, right? Because before we were saying, oh, it's such a deep running back class, blah, 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 blah. Like, even just look at our mock from, 117, where we had Kendra Miller, Charbonnet, Tank Bigsby, Zach Evans. Like, Zach Evans didn't even go in this mock, which is crazy, actually, now that I say that. But
yeah.
Nah, he's cooked.
Yeah, I've definitely moved off.
But, like, I think it's a very top-heavy running back class outside of really Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs here.
Zach Evans is an undersized, just I'm going to tunnel into any gap that I see type of running back. I don't understand why he's still getting late first round buzz. I'd be shocked if he goes in the top 2 rounds of the NFL draft.
Zach
Utterly shocked.
Oh, I'm not a big Zach Evans guy. I'm just shocked he didn't go in the first 2 rounds of.
So I'm not gonna lie. I think there's I know people say there's a drop off, but I think there's a huge drop off after Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say here.
You don't think?
I've seen that's the consensus take. I honestly think that people are potentially overestimating the gap between Gibbs, A-Chain, Charbonnet. Not saying that Gibbs shouldn't be valued that highly, but I think that most people aren't accurately pricing in the risk with Gibbs's profile. Yes, the upside is there, and that's why I would still put him at ADP of 106. I would still draft him at 106. But I don't really think there's a huge drop off. Like JT was saying earlier, if I had 106 and I was forced to pick Gibbs, I think I would try to just trade back into the late part of the first round.
Oh no!
Because of the fact that there's this huge perceived drop off now between pick 6 and the rest of the draft. Dude, I will gladly drop off of Gibbs and pick up another second round pick and get Charbonnet or A-Chain. I really don't think that the talent difference is that high right now.
The talent difference between Gibbs and those two. First up, I do think Sean Tucker deserves to be in that discussion with A-Chain and
if he gets the draft capital. All I want is draft capital for Sean Tucker.
But second, no, I think there's a huge drop off after Gibbs.
I mean, I like Devin A-Chain. I think he's a really good running back, and right now he's my running back 3 in this class. But like, I mean,
Gibbs. I don't think it's necessarily that I'm lower on these other backs than you. I think I'm just way higher than you on Gibbs. I think
Yeah, that's fair, but I've seen this being touted a lot that the top 6 and then the drop off, top 6 cliff, top 6 cliff.
I don't think there's a top 6 drop off.
If I'm getting a cliff price to go back only a handful of spots, I mean, there's plenty of receivers I like. Like, listen, I'll trade back from Gibbs and pick up Quentin Johnston in a little bit, Jordan Addison a little bit, Charbonnet in a little bit, the tight end 1 in a little bit. Dude, I will sign me up, and listen, man, I could go down 5 or 6 picks and get any one of these motherfuckers.
No, I get you. I'm not with the 106 drop off because of what you said. I like some of these receivers and tight ends that you can get in that 107 to 110 range. So I don't agree with like this huge colossal drop off that people are talking about for 106. I'm talking specifically at the running back position. I do think there's a huge drop off after Gibbs. That's my take. I don't agree with the 106 thing.
What would you pay then if you're a team that's picking at pick 11? What are you trading me to go up to pick 6? What do you think the value difference is in your eyes?
Gibbs?
Yeah, you're trading up for Jahmyr Gibbs.
I don't think a second gets it done. Not even from 111, maybe like actually from
111. So you offered 111 and 202. How about that? Would you do that? Would you do 111 and 202 to move up to 106?
I would do that. If I was 106, would I accept that? No.
No, you're the offering party here. You're the offering party.
I would offer that. I would offer it, yeah. I'm just saying if I'm 106, I don't think I'd accept it.
I mean, listen, just looking at the mock we just did, I think obviously the top 6 of Jahmyr Gibbs, like the 4 quarterback or 3 quarterbacks, Bijan, Gibbs and Jigba is very solid. But then you're talking about, I personally think at Jordan Addison,
should be
Johnson,
107.
And then
I think the drop off is around like 108, 109. And
then even if you wanted to say, I'm not a huge Will Levis guy, but like
me neither.
Top 10 pick potentially an NFL draft, like you might want to take that upside. Like, I don't think it's a major cliff. I would lean probably the 111 and 202 trade here in that scenario.
No, but even with those guys you mentioned, that ends at 110, 109.
Because, like, listen, if I could turn the Jackson Smith and Jigba pick into Zay Flowers and Devin Achane, I'm going to do that. I think that's a move that is very...
I want to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not... I like Gibbs on the rankings, and if you look at the running back charts and whatnot, he's going to be valued pretty darn highly for me. But I think that my drop off is more so like pick 5 or 4, because I think that between the top quarterbacks and Jackson Smith and Jigba, that's the drop off for me.
No, I think Gibbs is in that elite tier. I think say this was a standard league, like non-Superflex.
Whoa, blasphemy.
Blasphemous.
I know. We're like quarterbacks aren't in the picture. And I had 102. I think I might take Gibbs. It's between him or JSN. Those are 2 and 3. Pretty
I don't
easily.
think that's that controversial.
Yeah, no, it's not. But it's like,
look, I have 2 thoughts from this. One, Bijan has just put the Atlantic Ocean between himself and the next running back, right? Because it's Bijan or bust. And to me, it's way bigger of a difference from Bijan to Jahmyr Gibbs than it is from Jahmyr Gibbs to whoever your running back 3 is. I don't even care who your running back 3 is.
I disagree.
Bijan is the best prospect we've seen.
I just picture JT's like, listen, the gap between me and Gibbs is smaller than Gibbs and Bijan.
Close. Like, it's pretty close because I'm not a tailor. I don't know how to make clothes. I'm learning how to make clothes to make Bijan Robinson's gold jacket because that guy's going to the Hall of Fame, right? I'll start learning now. 15 years from now, I'll have mastered it. I'll have made the gold jacket for Bijan Robinson. Jake, you can start working on making statues. You can make his bust. All right, he's going into Cannes. Not Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs is not.
Jahmyr Gibbs is special.
He's good, but he's too I like him.
I think by the end of his rookie year, he's going to be a top 5 or 4 dynasty running back.
It doesn't take much though for that to happen.
Yeah, I think he's young.
He's young.
It doesn't. But no, but it'll be like he actually deserves it.
Yeah, but all right, but Bijan will be running back 1, and then maybe Breece Hall or Jonathan Taylor might be kind of close to him up there, but even that I'm not so sure about. And then sure, Gibbs will be 4, but it's like saying like, running back 4 to running back 12 might be the same difference as running back 4 to running back 3. Well, like the value wise, because we've seen it now. It's probably right now. I
don't think. I guess that's the difference. You think it'll be a drop off after those top 3? I think he's going to be right there with them. I think he's going to be right there with Breece Hall.
He's good, but I don't know how much I trust him to be that full workload kind of guy that's giving you the fancy points.
The difference between us and you, Lounis, is that we see more risk in Jahmyr Gibbs. Mm-hmm. We don't think he can automatically 100% of the time, I'm going to put my chips in the table and smash Jahmyr Gibbs. And I think for me, a lot of that is like, okay, yes, the size is potentially an issue, but then on top of that, I just don't think he's a good enough pure runner. I think he is good, and in his own scheme, I think he could have a lot of success. But the fact of the matter is that I like running backs who break tackles, who are physical, and I watch Devin Achane, and I see a physical back, even though he's small. I see a good pure runner who breaks tackles. With Jahmyr Gibbs, yeah, he's an amazing receiver. He looks great with his cuts and how he reads the field. Listen, he could easily be a DeAndre Swift. Like very easily,
he's better than DeAndre.
Yeah, and he could. Yeah, I think he's better than DeAndre Swift. That's fine, but there also is a certain amount of risk associated with the types of player that Jahmyr Gibbs is, the running back position long term.
I think the better question is Jahmyr Gibbs versus Breece Hall, not DeAndre Swift.
Breece Hall easily.
Oh God, no, Lounis.
No, yeah, I'm taking Breece Hall.
I'll sound crazy now.
Lounis is like, yeah, guys, I totally saw Anthony Richardson coming, so you should believe me here on this one.
All I'm saying is JT and Lappy both made bets with me that he wouldn't go in the first 2 rounds, and then now it's a lock for top 10.
And I've now switched to actually liking
I'm taking him third.
Richardson a lot.
I don't like him, so
but no,
I don't like
him. Listen, I'm not gonna ever say Bijan's in the league with him. Bijan, like it's no discussion. But Jahmyr, I think he's different. Like he's gonna be. I can't wait to see him in the NFL and to see where he ends up.
It's just, I don't know, it's just weird for me because I do have Jahmyr Gibbs ranked. I'm pretty sure we did it before. He's a top 10 running back in Dynasty for me right now. But that doesn't mean that I don't want to trade back. And I think I could just like pick 111 and 202. Dude, I really like that return right now.
Google tells me it's going to take me 2 to 6 years to become a tailor. I have big dumb fingers, so it might take a little longer. But I'm making that Bijan gold jacket, and Jahmyr Gibbs is not going to be there. I still like him. It's fine. He's not.
He's a stud.
Anything else we want to talk about?
Yeah, but I'm okay with this though. I just want us to remember, like, come the regular season, that I was like the Jahmyr Gibbs guy. That I was the one that was the highest on him. So okay, that's all I need.
That's fine.
Go ahead.
You can have that one.
Richardson.
Yeah. I'm definitely fine with you being the Anthony Richardson guy.
I'm really high on JSN, but Frank and Jake also have him as their wide receiver 1, so I can't be like, oh, I'm the JSN guy. But those two, Gibson, Anthony Richardson, put all my chips on the table.
So I think that an interesting conversation the back end running backs now. And what the landscape for these guys looks like, because I think that after the combine, there wasn't really much added clarity to some of these runners. I think the only clarity that I really got is, okay, the Tank Bigsbys of this class are not all did not ascend into that great tier that they potentially could have, right? They've kind of confirmed, okay, they're middle of the pack. They very late day 2, early day 3 draft capital at best. Probably going to end up in the 3rd round, very late 2nd of your dynasty drafts, like we had just seen, right? Tank Bigsby didn't go; he'd probably go in the early 3rd. If I were in a startup draft right now, because I am interested in some of these backs, right? There's that Pittsburgh dude that Skull brought up.
Israel
there's Chase Brown, who I saw that had a really good combine out of Illinois, right? There's these other dudes
like Mo Ibrahim. And
There's Chris Rodriguez out of Kentucky. There's still Deuce Vaughn, who actually weighed in pretty chunky. He was weighing in, I think, close to 180, if not there. Curious to see how you would value these dudes right now. If you were like, how would you approach them if you were in a startup right now or trying to trade for picks right now?
Well, the problem I have with most of these guys is they ain't test. Like they did some tests here and there, but and like maybe picked like which ones they thought they were good at. But like we didn't really get that much of a clear picture other than height and weight for the most part. And even then, like you could have Bryce Young'd it and just put on a bunch of weight and then not tested it. And then is it really telling us anything? Like I think Travis Etienne did that too, where it's just like put on a bunch of weight and didn't test.
Right before getting on the scale, he's like scarfing down some Jersey Mikes. Like,
yeah, like it doesn't help us a whole lot. We're just getting inflated numbers. And then, so to me, it's just like what you thought about these guys before. I don't think my opinion has much changed. Like Roschon Johnson, I kind of liked a little bit more. I thought he had a fine combine. But at the end of the day, I think it's just going to be kind of what the NFL dictates, who's getting this draft capital, who's going to positions that you might like, because otherwise there hasn't been a whole lot to separate a decent amount of these guys.
I was hoping that one Georgia back that was starting to gain some buzz.
Georgia Tech or Kenny McIntosh?
Yeah, him. Because I saw his receiving numbers were actually very impressive. And you know, at Georgia, that's just a team where you look at it's hard to look at the stats because they have such a stacked roster and they spread the ball around so much. And that's their philosophy, right? They've openly talked about this, that it's hard to trust at face value. Like, oh, well, he only had X amount of rushing yards, which is like below average production for SEC top 24 fantasy players. But it's like, well, sorry, he's playing with fucking super mutants. Like, just didn't test well enough. So I still in the dart throw tier to me. Yeah, I was just curious to see if you guys have any backs that potentially got out of or are now in the, they're in the back half dart throwy tier.
Well, Izzy, the Pitt guy who Skole's talking about again, he's someone that I've had my eyes on. I think he's the youngest guy coming out of this class. So he's someone that I still definitely take a third round flyer on, depending on draft capital, maybe even a late second if he gets good enough for draft capital. Other than him, I'm looking at the list of players. Like Tyjae Spears is still someone I can't get that far behind. Deuce Vaughn, I know you said he tested well, but he's still too small for me.
Same.
There's not that many that I'm really willing to throw my hat into the ring behind yet. Like, I'm looking at all the names, and there's just not many that I'm like, yeah, like this guy will be good.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious to see how this plays out with some of the free agent backs, because I think a guy that we've seen really take a dip in price, David Montgomery. Earlier in the process, guys like Zach Evans and Tank Bigsby were initially a threat. And I do not think that's the case at all. Right? Like, I think that as the process has gone on, most of these running backs are not going to touch what David Montgomery is right now. So I'm curious as to how that affects some of the other potential free agent backs, right? A guy like a Rashad Penny, because he was another dude was like, oh, well, does a team just draft a back in the fourth? Oh, you're telling me to stop. I honestly think that Rashad Penny, you look at what he's done in the NFL.
I'm with you, Frank. I'm with you.
If I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, right, and Joe Mixon decided to shoot some Nerf, shoot an actual gun at the kids playing Nerf outside, and now, boom, he's off the team. If I'm the Bengals, I'm trying to win a Super Bowl, I could basically pay a fourth-round pick and pick up my Zach Evans, or I could pay $3 million and pick up Rashad Penny. No draft pick. Give me fucking Rashad Penny.
The dude's not going to play more than 3 games. It doesn't matter how good he is. I'm sure he's been,
I don't know. I don't know why
he's been good when he's healthy, but he doesn't.
I don't know
play.
why you want to die on this hill so bad.
I'm on the Rashad Penny hill. I'm with Frank.
I think Rashad Penny
it's
is
not
great
hill, it's a
when
mountain.
he's on the field.
Mountain.
He's
and there's
just
castle
not
on the
field very
and there's
much.
a boat. No, not a moat. Sorry, there's a moat on our mountain castle, and there's alligators and crocodiles in our
especially the
moat.
amount of free agent running backs there are this year with all the running backs in this draft class.
Okay, let's go back to David Montgomery then. You don't have to roast me. This wasn't the point.
Speaking of David Montgomery, Matthew Berry's thing where he's like, oh, however many things I learned from the combine or whatever, he said that he thinks in 15 days that Montgomery won't be a Bear.
I also saw that the Chiefs are a team that are apparently very heavily interested in David Montgomery. A dude that has taken this is kind of what I was getting to. I feel like a lot of the David Montgomerys of the world, some of these free agent running backs took massive hits because of people being skeptical if they could land starting positions. Well, if these running backs in the draft outside of like the top 5 are just kind of average committee dudes, why can't David Montgomery go into a similar, he's the 1A in a timeshare, and he ends up for his current price being pretty good?
I don't have a problem with the, David Montgomery's, Kareem Hunts of the world. Like, I do think those guys are going to be productive NFL players come next year. All they've done in their NFL career has shown that they are productive NFL players. And I don't expect that to change. To what degree? Sure. I mean, that's going to depend on who's in the backfield with them and how good the offense is. Sure. But I don't expect these guys to fall off the face of the earth. I mean, especially when there's so many running backs, openings that are there are really, Chiefs being one of them, Buffalo is still really maybe one of them, Atlanta is another one. Like, there's so many running back openings here that they're going to fall into a place where they're going to be productive. And I do think that they should not have fallen, as Frank has said, to the degree that they have. Like, they're guys that have had top 10 NFL finishes before. And, obviously age is a factor here, and that's priced in. That's why they're so low. And we've seen NFL running backs have a very short shelf life. And that's why everyone's scared of them. But at the end of the day, they're the guys that are going to produce because they've done it before, and teams know they will, and they'll take a contract that's not too bad, and that's who's going to get the job. If you look at the teams that have won the Super Bowl, their leading rushers, they have an average salary of like $1.5 million. Like, it's very low. The winning teams don't spend a lot of money on running back, and that's what's going to happen here to Kareem Hunt, David Montgomery, that tier of running back that is a free agent right now. They're going to go to a good situation. Everyone's going to go, oh yeah, why did we hate David Montgomery when he signed with the Chiefs? Like, no shit. Like, they'll get a bounce back. It's just a matter of when they sign.
Now, let me ask you this: as dynasty managers, if we're making the assumption that these guys are underpriced, how do we get in? What's the strat?
Move back in the second round. That's it. Right? If the price is a late second or mid-second even, you move back from 202 to 207, throw me David Montgomery. I don't know if that'll get it done, but if someone's looking at the juicy board and goes, oh, I really want to get in on Zay Flowers, I really want to get in on Josh Downs, they might be willing to do that.
Yeah, you may have to do some logistics on the back end to make it work out, like you giving up something to even it out. But yeah,
I'll tell you how you do it. I'm going to do it right now, actually. I am in our home league. I'm scrolling over to the person who has both Rashad Penny and Damian Harris. I'm clicking on both of them, and I'm offering 208 for them. And we see what happens.
For what was it? Penny and
Damian Harris for 208. Allegedly, like dead even on Keep Trade Cut.
Really?
208's a little bit higher.
Yeah, it's just two players that, like I kind of said before, they're yesterday's news. They're free. They're not on a team, so they're not. There's no up arrow, right?
I do want to also say with the free agent running back draft class, in that same Matthew Berry article that they mentioned, David Montgomery not being a Bear, they did say that they think the Eagles, because of the extensions they're going to have to give to Jalen Hurts and to, I know they want to sign Gardner Johnson back. There's a good chance Miles Sanders walks, and they're going to bring in another guy for cheap and have Kenneth Gainwell be the third down guy with another back, kind of being like the first and second down guy. So Miles Sanders is going to be another guy.
Ooh.
I honestly think the Eagles do a little both strat. I think that they go and they pick one up with like a day 3 pick and they bring in a free agent.
I'm honestly, well, my hope is they have two first round picks. They have the Saints one and their own. The Saints one is early. I think they go someone on the defensive line, like a D end. I wouldn't be mad at the corner because I think they're not going to re-sign Bradbury. I'm really hoping for Jahmyr Gibbs with pick 31. I'm really hoping they take him at pick 31.
I just hate spending my first round pick on a running back.
Yeah,
that's it. Like
31 though.
There's a team
30.
that has
it's actually pick 30, Lounis, because the Dolphins don't have.
Oh yeah, no, pick 30. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, that's really all I have to mention so far. Unless you guys want to bring anything up, we can wrap this thing up here.
Yeah. Real quick, how many tight ends go in the first round?
4. Fuck yeah, tight end season.
4.
3.
3 from Jake, 2 from Lounis. I think I side with Jake and say 3.
2.
I'm here for that tight end action. I'm a tight end merchant.
First round.
Give it to me. 4 tight ends.
All right.
But yeah, if you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed the mock. Thank you guys for participating. Skull, Peter the R, we appreciate it. We should probably start doing that more often because I like having the, especially once we do a handful of mocks, like we kind of all know who each of us
all like.
Yeah.
Thank you, Skull and P to the R for participating in this. It was fun.
So yeah, we'll be back next Tuesday. Thank you so much. Peace out.